from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications. You're watching Elon Local News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight on Elon Local News. I'm Margaret Faust.
And I'm Brian Ray. Tonight, Greek organizations are working to move forward after new guidelines from the university prohibit most in-person activities. Chapters were informed of the decision yesterday, but there is still confusion among the Greek community about what the order means. Delta President Sam Hess says the decision comes just under 2 weeks before sororities were set to host an in-person bid day, a disappointing change for many in Greek life. We should mention Hess is an occasional contributor to Elon News Network.
Putting on a recruitment that we have had a month to work on a completely new platform, and now it's like kind of feels like for what?
Hess says she acknowledges individuals in Greek life have significantly contributed to the rise of COVID-19 cases, but she says she's concerned about the new member experience moving forward now that there are restrictions on meeting them in person following recruitment.
And I think a lot of concern also is coming for P&Ms, because I think a lot of freshmen and sophomores going through recruitment right now are looking to go on those sister dates, are looking to create this, not even like necessarily in-person connection, but I mean, it's hard to find like a Greek family when you're only talking to them via Zoom. And
Dean of Student Development Jodine Schmiederer, who oversees Greek life, says while some students feel like Greek life is being targeted, there is evidence that small in-person interactions among those affiliated is contributing to the spread of the virus.
We're not saying you can't go out and be with your friends. We're saying we want you to be intentional about it. And when we're introducing a lot of new members and new people to your social group, that in person stays small for a while. Okay. Our hope is that we can lift this as we go throughout the semester.
Schmiederer says the decision to move bid day virtual was made in conversation last week with chapter presidents, but Hess says she only remembers one chapter president bringing it up as a suggestion.
Elon University is reporting 3 new cases of the coronavirus tonight. That brings the total number of active cases to 59. Currently, there are 208 students in quarantine.
Off-campus, Alamance County is reporting 45 new cases, contributing to the more than 1,100 cases in North Carolina.
Student teachers from the School of Education are facing challenges this year because of the coronavirus pandemic. Our Isabella Seaman has the story.
Senior Tristan Cox is student teaching 8th grade mathematics at Western Alamance Middle School. He goes into the classroom Monday through Friday every week to teach, but without students physically there.
I was pretty upset with it at first, but the more that I actually do it, I realize it's not as bad. Like, obviously, I'd still rather teach to a classroom full of kids in person and be able to talk to them and joke with them.
Cox is one of the students from the School of Education that have been student teaching virtually from the classroom for the past 8 months.
You're still trying to talk to them and interact with them, but for the most part, you're talking to black rectangles with names in it. So it's just a little weird trying to have conversations and interactions with someone that you can't really see.
And while Cox says there are some disadvantages about teaching virtually, he says he is learning just as much as his students are.
Overall, there are some advantages, especially from like a student teacher perspective, because it gives me more time to talk with my clinical teacher I'm working with about things I can improve on.
The Alamance Burlington school system plans to start a hybrid learning model on March 8th, meaning Cox will start teaching his students in person in the next few weeks.
Overall, I'm excited to have him back and be able to put faces to names that I've seen for the past 8 months.
Student teachers are included in the latest group in North Carolina to receive the vaccine. And while Cox has received information about it, his vaccine is yet to be scheduled. Isabella Seaman, Elon Local News.
All student teachers are required to complete 1 semester of student teaching before graduating.
As the semester progresses, so does our highly virtual environment, leaving students wondering if the typical college experience will ever return as we once knew it. Our Baylor Rodman has the story.
Infectious disease specialist Ellen Lloyd says while the state of students' college careers can be frustrating, the return of a so-called normal environment has one key game changer.
A lot of things are going to depend on how that vaccine, the rollout works, and also, how many people decide they will or won't get the vaccine.
Lloyd says while high-risk individuals can have a fairly high level of protection come late spring or early summer, there is concern new variants will undo some of those gains.
That's why I can imagine we will still be wearing masks. We'll still be doing some social distancing in the fall, maybe next year.
Elon sophomore and acting major Corinna Slotkoff says while looking at the bright side, the last year has been a valuable experience, but it's not what she anticipated her education to look like.
I think it's just like that feeling that's kind of irreplaceable that this pandemic has stripped from so many artists. While our work is still being taken for granted. I mean, I think the other thing that I think is really important to be conscious of is that art has gotten almost the whole world through this pandemic.
Lloyd says that he does believe college campuses can move to a new normal, a modified version of how things were this time last year.
We're getting a handle on what sorts of scenarios are more or less risky in terms of interactions. And so, and in classrooms and so on. And so, maybe some of those acting classes and other sorts of classes that really have to happen in person. We can manage those and allow those things to happen.
Baylor Rodman, Elon Local News.
Elon's Ready and Resilient Committee has created a guide for students with strategies to help adjust to the hybrid and online learning environment.
Some Elon students are saying they're concerned about the lack of improvements being made to the experience in quarantine this semester. Elon sophomore Jessie Good has been in quarantine twice, once in the fall semester and once in J-term. Good says she felt supported by the university, but thinks meal services and the transition to remote learning can be improved.
We're the ones that are paying to be here. We're the ones that are like possibly sick with COVID. Like I feel like our needs should be met more.
Did not change much from the fall, and she's not hopeful that the experience will improve this spring. Student Life quarantine staff members did not respond to ENN's request for comment.
The National Labor Relations Board has ruled that the Elon Faculty Union can legally unionize. Elon University was arguing that non-tenured track faculty are managerial employees, making them unable to unionize and take part in university decision-making, but the NLRB ruled otherwise. Elon Associate Professor of Law Eric Fink says the next steps are up to the university.
If they want to challenge it further and get a federal court, to review it, the way that they have to do that is, I said under the law, both parties have a legal duty to bargain. So what an employer can do is refuse to bargain.
Elon Adjunct Professor of Art Mark Owinski is supportive of the union and says that this could be good for the university.
Negotiating and bargaining with the adjuncts is going to, in a sense, make that very visible, to the community. It's going to say, hey, we're matching our actions to our philosophy, and I think that's going to be really important.
We'll be following this story on elonnewsnetwork.com.
Fellows Weekend normally brings hundreds of prospective students to Elon's campus, but as our Haley Phelps reports, this year's program has to recruit students virtually.
Packed streets and sold-out hotels usually occupy Fellows Weekend at Elon in March, but this year the only thing filled up was Zoom rooms. Fellows Weekend was split over the last 2 weeks with multiple Zoom rooms students could visit to learn more about their prospective programs. Elon sophomore and honors fellow Tiffany Huang spoke to prospective fellows this last weekend, but doesn't think the experience was as meaningful as when she went through the process.
I don't think I'd be here if I was online. It doesn't feel like a personalized or a unique experience.
But junior teaching fellow Erica Kim believes the process this year was effective because the incoming first years are used to an online platform.
At least in the fellows program, we have our highest number of applicants that we've ever had. So in a way, taking away that travel aspect, maybe some cost, is making this more available for more students.
Kim also assisted in the Fellows recruiting process. She says she's trying to mimic her experience during Fellows Weekend for others.
We're trying to foster those relationships as best as we can, but I think the interpersonal conversation that we had when I was a freshman or first year looking at Elon was really important for me.
For many students like Huang, Fellows Weekend is their first time visiting Elon. But now, students aren't automatically invited to campus for the interview. Communications Fellows interviewer and journalism professor Colin Donahue says that while the entire format has changed, it doesn't affect his view on the process.
There are ways that we can make this work, and we've always done interviews in previous years for students over the phone if they weren't able to make it to campus for Fellows Weekend. So the process of doing interviews not in person is not necessarily new for us.
Haley Phelps, Elon Local News.
Kim says she could see this having an effect on future Fellows Weekends.
Elon University's strategic plan, Boldly Elon, is currently under review. Vice President for Strategic Initiatives Jeff Stein will determine if any changes need to be made to the plan in light of the ongoing pandemic. No decisions have been made at this point. The Innovation Quad is still expected to be the first large-scale project to be built, with construction starting this spring. Details about a ceremony for the project will be shared with the Elon community once finalized. Until then, the university started working on other smaller projects, including the renovation of space in the Francis Center for the new nursing program. The completion date for the new parking lot on the former Elon Elementary site is now later than anticipated due to winter weather. The university is hoping to complete that paving by March 1st, with landscaping and lighting installation to follow.
With new COVID-19 regulations for student organizations this spring, many clubs are adapting how they run. President of Elon's chapter of Autism Speaks and Alpha Omicron Pi sorority Marley Siciliano says her organizations have changed how they get members involved.
Autism Speaks specifically, usually we like to have special needs families on campus, but that's not really possible with COVID. So now we started Autism Speaks tutoring program where I matched our members to students for them to tutor.
If you're looking to join a student organization, a complete list and contact information can be found on Phoenix Connect.
According to the U.S. Census, 23% of business owners in North Carolina are minorities. Burlington business owner ALICIA Wingate says it's time to shine a brighter light on minority-owned businesses this Black History Month and every month. A love for baking dating back to childhood.
My mother was a baker, so she taught me all the skills I needed to know.
Becoming ALICIA Wingate's career.
Turning it into a bakery allowed me to do what I love every day.
ALICIA's Homemade Cakes is going on 8 years in business, baking everything from dinner mints to wedding cakes.
We're creating, we're designing, we're bringing people's visions to life through our art, our cake art.
As a Black female business owner, ALICIA says there are rewards, but also challenges.
I had what I thought was a customer come in and say, like, we needed to leave the area and all this stuff, that we shouldn't, we're in the wrong side of town to be opening a bakery. And it's just like, oh, that kind of hurt. But at the same time, I know what I have to offer my community is a lot more than what 1 or 2 people are saying.
As small businesses are taking a hit from the coronavirus pandemic, a study from the National Bureau of Economic Research shows more Black-owned businesses are closing than white-owned. ALICIA's is currently closed to in-person customers, running on online orders. ALICIA says she feels blessed to be part of the Black-owned businesses staying afloat.
There is a need to support them. A lot of what they do, they put back into the community, they put back into their families.
Looking back at her younger self, learning from mom, ALICIA encourages aspiring Black and female business owners to take the leap.
Just got to keep motivated. You got to keep pushing your dream, because if you don't love it, you can't expect anybody else to love it.
ALICIA's Homemade Cakes is planning to reopen to in-person customers on March 9th. You can find the bakery on Route 49 in Burlington. You can also visit elonnewsnetwork.com for a link to ALICIA's website.
The theme of this year's Black History Month dance concert is Redemption for Our Skin. The show touches on current events and hard conversations surrounding race in America. Director of the concert, Keisha Wall, says although the performance was filmed in November, the message has only gotten stronger.
creating these works, we're thinking about the motorcade that went through Elon. We're thinking about all of these things that the current president at the time was, speaking from his platform. I'm literally looking my students in the face and seeing the pain and agony that they're facing as they're learning all of these truths about how the world works.
We'll have more on the upcoming concert this week on ELN Morning.
Cloudy start to the day through most of the day, but the sun did come out at the end. We're going to head on out to Citroen Plaza where we find Jenna Manderioli with our Phoenix 5-day forecast. Jenna, what can we expect?
Thanks, Brian. Today we saw an abundance of rain earlier, which later turned into sunshine. Out here in the town of Elon, it's going to be a high of 49 heading into the evening. Now for our Phoenix 5-day forecast. Tomorrow we have off from classes and it's going to be relatively warm, so a great opportunity to take advantage of the sunshine. With a high of 63 and a low of 36, grab some friends for a socially distant picnic or maybe a hike. On Wednesday, temperatures rising even higher with a high of 68 and a low of 43. Another great chance to get outdoors. On Thursday, it's going to be partly cloudy with a high of 55 and a low of 37. Heading into the weekend, we're going to see some rain, so a good idea to grab that umbrella with a high of 49 on Friday and a high of 60 on Saturday. That's it for our Phoenix 5-day forecast. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Jenna. Well, it is my favorite day of the year, National Margarita Day, and we wanted to celebrate with you by sharing a mocktail recipe for all of you to try at home. So we're going to start here with some lime club soda. Just going to pour some in. Margaret, I'll pour you some too.
Thank you, Brian. Up next, you're going to add just a drop of orange juice. The brand is up to you.
Just a little splash.
Yep.
Awesome. And then, of course, it's not a margarita without lime. So we are going to add in some, some lime juice. Give it a little swirl. And there you have it, a nice virgin margarita for National Margarita Day. Not going to drink it because we'll take our masks off, but we can admire it.
Looks delicious. So today is the first day of Campus Recreation and Wellness Love Your Body Week, which
it coincides with National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. Our Anne-Marie Bonner has more.
Free food, fitness classes, and workshops are going on this week online and around campus. Organizations come together to host this event with the same goal in mind: living a healthy lifestyle. Organizer of the event, Charlotte Williams, says eating mindfully is one of the themes for the week.
The purpose of eating as opposed to some of the other reasons we may eat, social or emotional. And from time to time, that's going to happen, but making sure that we have that awareness of where we sit on the spectrum of our relationship with food.
Local nutritionist Leslie Williams says she hears many misconceptions about eating disorders, one being that eating disorders come with a certain look, and she takes that into consideration when meeting with clients.
Same, no two people are the same, no two eating disorders are the same. I want to know about the history of that eating disorder and about the onset and about the current behaviors. But what is really important to me is knowing the person aside from that eating disorder.
Elon Sparks peer educator Alex Cavello agrees with Williams and says that the topic of eating disorders on campus and among college students is misinterpreted.
Like, a lot of people don't recognize that it actually is a disorder. It's not a diet or a way of living or necessarily even really a choice. It is something that's tied into everything else: mental, physical, etc.
Anne-Marie Bonner, Elon Local News.
For more on Love Your Body Week and National Disorder Awareness, head to our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
All right, Margaret, do you want to try these margaritas?
Yes,
I think we can do it here.
please.
We'll separate a little bit. So we can get our mask. It does taste like one. That lime is really coming through.
I can taste all the flavors.
Yeah.
You got the sparkle of the club soda, the orange juice.
Yeah. I'm surprised, you know, and if you are of age or want to mix it up, you can add some tequila or triple sec, but yeah, this is pretty good. I'm impressed.
I'm gonna take another sip here.
Yeah.
You might want to enjoy this inside because it's kind of cold. The ice isn't really helping me here, but
yeah.
maybe you can, you know, inside, sip through a straw with your friends.
Yeah. Well, that's all the news we have for you tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.
For more news when we're not on the air, head to our website, elonnewsnetwork.com. Have a great week, Elon.